Nickal. How good is he?
He's a fucking nightmare, bro.
I'm super excited for Bo Nickal. I could see him just going extremely far in this sport.
Like, I don't even want to say prospect no more. I think it's just pending whenever this guy actually becomes champion.
He's right here. Looking to finish, and he does. Nickal with the championship for himself.
Welcome to the Straight from the Crest podcast.
Welcome back to the Straight from the Crest podcast. I'm your host, Michael David Kresovich. Very special guest joins the show today. The three-time state champion wrestler out of Texas, three-time state national champion who was instrumental in Penn State's 4 national titles, career record of 303-10, Mr. Bo Nickal. Bo, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Mikey. Appreciate you having me on, brother.
As always, Garrett joins the show. I said before I wanted to give Bo the spotlight, but Garrett, how you doing today, man? Nice to have you back. I guess usually
you say I'm the very special guest, but I guess I'm getting replaced. So it's fine.
Sorry, I would say replaced, but
I'm the second best red beard in the group now, so it's okay.
I agree with that. We're gonna talk some wrestling, some MMA, some Penn State, and at the end we're gonna dice up with some football talk because that's what we're here for. But Bo, I just kind of want to start with this, man. How's camp going, and what's your day-to-day looking like right now?
Camp is going really well. I think I'm about 5-6 weeks out, something like that. So training really hard, doing usually a couple training sessions a day, but mostly just working on developing skills, developing my conditioning, strength. So, for me, a lot of what I'm doing just kind of revolves around development. I'm really young into my career and I have a lot to learn. So, focusing a lot on just building skills and, getting better, improving. But yeah, right now it's definitely peak volume. So, that's always good and bad. It's fun, but it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And being 6 weeks out from that November 16th showdown at MSG, what's the balance of conditioning right now to strength training, or is right now the time where everything's dialed in and you're just not coasting, but you're just finding things up?
For now, I'm still building, so usually I get to about 3 or 4 weeks out before I start to, slow down and decrease the volume. So, right now these are my toughest weeks as far as volume goes, and, a lot of strength conditioning, mixed in with a lot of skill work as well. So, overall, just like really high volume training. Pretty much the hard part about MMA is you really have to do everything. A lot of sports, it's like it can be, you're focused on just a short sprint, or you're focused on, longer endurance. But MMA, you really have to be able to do everything. You have to have that explosive strength, but you also have to be able to, go a full fight, which is 15 minutes. And that's a long time. So, just pretty much doing it all, and we'll have a couple more weeks of that before I start to taper down.
Absolutely, and you're obviously a multifaceted athlete. I mean, I've seen you play pickleball, I've seen you shoot the basketball, dodgeball. I know you've been wrestling since the age of 5, and that's where you've accumulated all these accolades. Growing up, what other sports were you involved in, or was it only just wrestling?
Wrestling was always the one that I took the most seriously. I think just because my grandpa was a wrestling coach. My dad was a wrestling coach, but my dad actually played college football at a small D2 school. And so I played football growing up. I played baseball. I did swimming. I ran track. So I did a ton of sports growing up, which I was really, now when I look back on it, I think it was really good for me for a lot of reasons. I think, first and foremost, you just develop different types of athleticism and doing different things. And, I think that was really helpful for me. And then I think then in addition to that, if you're just wrestling or just doing an individual sport your whole life, I think sometimes you can lose like some of that social component of what a team sport brings, working with other people, being able to just like socialize, interact, and know like how to handle situations with teammates, or, just like, sometimes you can get a little wrapped up if you're just focused on yourself all the time. So I think I was really glad I did a lot of sports for a lot of reasons. And there, like I said, wrestling was most serious, but I had a lot of fun doing other stuff.
That's awesome. And I have to ask here, because I got this from Wikipedia and I just want to confirm, because that's not where I get my sources. But did your father play at Chadron State? Is that the name of the school?
Yeah, Nebraska. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's where one of Garrett and I's favorite players, Danny Woodhead, went.
Danny Woodhead.
Yeah,
Everybody knows Danny Woodhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the man. I think he was like, I don't know if he still has the record, but it was like most rushing yards in NCAA history at one point. So I don't
That's
know if
awesome.
it's still him, but yeah, he's like the guy that everybody knows from there. The
So
other guy that people know from there is he had a famous play is Don Beebe. So he I forget, it was like either the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl or something like that. I think it had to been the Super Bowl because he played for the Bills, and that it was a crazy play where I forget the guy's name, but he was like a D tackle for the Cowboys. He ran like
Leon Lett. It was Leon Lett. Yes.
Yeah, Leon Lett. So ran like a 99-yard fumble back, and then Don Beebe like tackled him, and the ball went out of the end zone. They got a touchback. So yeah, those are like the two players that are known from that school.
It's a powerhouse football school. Mr. Nickal, Danny, and Beatty there. So
exactly, yeah.
But so growing up playing all those sports, you have a monster career, high school wrestling. I know that you were part of one of the most historical Penn State classes in terms of recruits, with Shakur, Anthony, Jason, Nick Nevels. When you were evaluating where to go, what made you pick Penn State outside of Cale Sanderson?
Right. Yeah, there were a lot of things. For me, what was really nice is that I got to take unofficial visits to, a bunch of different schools. And so I got to compare and contrast what I liked, what I didn't like, and really just get a feel for everybody. So, I took visits to Oklahoma State. They were, very close to me in proximity from my high school. Took visits to Ohio State, Nebraska, University of Virginia. And, so I got to kind of get a feel for a lot of different places. And when I got to Penn State, the first thing that I really noticed about the coaching staff and everybody was that they were very genuine people. And it seemed like the other schools and the other people were just trying to sell me the school. And they were really trying to say everything right to get me to, want to go there, which of course, that's part of the process, but it just felt very almost like they were used car salesmen. And coming to Penn State, it felt very just genuine, organic, natural conversation as far as hey, what are you interested in? Do you like wrestling? They just wanted to get to know me. And so I think that was the first thing that I really appreciated was the genuineness. And then of course, just the, Coach Cale, he was my favorite wrestler growing up, but the success that the program had been having, and they were putting out, consistently the best wrestlers in the country, especially around my weight. We had guys like David Taylor, Matt Brown, Ed Ruth, Quentin Wright, all these guys multiple-time national champions, multiple-time All-Americans, and not only that, but dominating. And that was the what I wanted to do, in my career. I wasn't looking to go somewhere and be the big fish in a small pond right away. And I knew I would come to Penn State and get pushed. And that was where, for me, I had the best chance in my mind of reaching my goals and just figuring out how good I could be. I knew other places that I could probably, be really good, but I knew coming to Penn State, I was going to reach my full potential.
Awesome. And you obviously saw, you're like, hey, this is a place that I can grow as a person, not only as an athlete. And obviously you were able to do that in Happy Valley there.
100%. Yeah. The culture of the program is unprecedented, and the thing that I most appreciate when I look back, that I didn't really expect going in was the class of guys that I came in with, how good of friends we became. All those guys are my best friends, and all the guys you mentioned. I really, that to me is the best part of my experience at Penn State. It wasn't, we all won national titles together and stuff, which was really cool, but those friendships are way more valuable than that. And so, just being able to meet those guys and be around them and get close to them was something that I really cherish.
I thought the coolest thing was always when I would go with Garrett's dad into the weight room and lift, and I would see you guys playing dodgeball and having so much fun. You don't see that from winning teams. They're able to have fun in both ways. They're kicking ass on the mat and they're doing it outside, and they're living together. You're coming together as one, because it's either polar opposites. You'll have great teams and no camaraderie between it, or you're going to screw around off the court and be terrible, or the mat. I'm sorry, I'm from a basketball background. I'm going to mess up a lot there.
Yeah, that's blasphemy, Mikey.
What was that like? What was that like
Yeah.
going to a dual meet, everyone sweeps, and just being able to, hey, guys, we have I know you didn't go crazy, but you had your own sort of fun at Penn State. What was that like, being able to do those fun things with guys that you were winning with?
Dude, it was the best, man. Like, I always say that it's fun to win, but it's even more fun to win with your teammates and with your friends. Like, you know, it would have been cool to win solo, but you know, we were just so close with each other, and like you said, we just had that camaraderie and spent so much time together, and just real genuine like love for one another. You know, everybody had their own goals and things they wanted to achieve, but it was like we were all just kind of, we would build off each other, you know, get momentum off of each other, and it never felt like we would compete against each other in training to push each other and get better, but it was always like out of love. You know, it was never like a competitive, toxic environment where it's like, oh, I hope this guy doesn't do good, and so it'll make me look better. It was always like we always wanted to lift each other up, which I think is very rare. You know, most teammates, it's like they want to do good until they see their teammate doing better than them, and then it's like, whoa, like that, they get jealous or whatever. For us, it was never like that. It was like if one of us did great, then it was like we wanted to do, you know, even better. It wasn't like, oh, I hope, like I said, I hope this guy, you know, doesn't do well, and then, you know, it'll make me look good. It's like we all just built off each other, felt that momentum. And I got one story that I think was, you know, to me, it really sums up the culture at Penn State. After I won the national championship in 2017, I got off the mat, and the first person to greet me and to congratulate me was Mark Hall. And Mark had just lost in the national finals and, you know, not reached his goal literally like less than 10 minutes before that. And he was the first guy to come up to me and congratulate me. And that's a testament to the culture, testament to how much we loved each other and cared about each other as teammates and brothers. And, you know, that lasts forever. Like, it doesn't matter if I've, like, a lot of these guys, obviously I'm staying in touch with, talking to them every day, but even if I haven't talked to one of my teammates in years, we can pick back up like, you know, like nothing. And, you know, we would, I think, really at the end of the day do anything for each other. And it's a special thing. I don't think that that can be replicated very easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's the definition of iron sharpens iron. That's the story of Penn State wrestling. That's how it was able to grow when you got there. But let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to your senior year. After you commit to Penn State, they win the title. This also I got from a source where you were in, I believe it was Madison Square Garden. Was that 14?
So 2014 would have been either St. Louis. I think it might have been St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
But you're there. You're already committed to Penn State. I believe it was right after the Dapper Dan or maybe before.
Yeah.
But I read that you were at an after party with a lot of the people with the program, and that was really what sold you more to Penn State. Who were some of those guys? I know you just named Ed Ruth, Quentin, David. Was there anyone else on, whether it was a staff member or a personnel, that was really instrumental in solidifying your decision to come to Penn State?
Yeah, you know, I loved everybody. Everybody I got on with right away. And of course, you know, everybody knows the big names, the guys that, you know, were winning national titles before I got to school. But a lot of those guys had graduated. And the guys that I was actually on the team with that I got to know really well, that I appreciated a lot at that point, were guys like Matt McCutcheon, Zane Rutherford. And those guys were really like real glue for the team, because we had this new big class coming in with myself and all the other guys you mentioned. And then we had a kind of a massive class that was exiting as well. And then we had these guys in the middle that, you know, kind of almost like brought us in, took us under their wing, and showed us like what the culture was about and what it was like what the program was about. And those guys, like, you know, appreciate them so much. And it's the same thing with the guys that were older. It's like, I think any of us would do anything for each other. And so, you know, that transition period, it could have been really hard, because I think when you have guys like me and Nolf and Anthony, like, Shaq coming in, where obviously like I've always been very confident and felt like, like I've always felt like I'm the man. And, sometimes you come into a new environment and people want to like really kind of almost like try to put you in your place or whatever. And like, but I didn't feel that at all. It was like those guys wanted to build me up and lift me up, which is a really cool thing. Cause I look back at myself as a young, 18-year-old kid, definitely like overconfident, arrogant. And, you don't really know much about the world at that point, but those guys like really took care of me, which I appreciate. And it meant a lot. And then, of course, since they did that, then the guys in our class try to do the same thing to the generations after us.
Yeah, I mean, you guys passed the torch, and it's paying off right now. I mean, Penn State wrestling is it's a powerhouse, and it's fun to watch. It's cool, the foundation that not only you laid, but you found the program's standard level was there, and you guys raised it even another level, and hopefully the class after you can continue that tradition. But one of my last questions here, you only had 3 losses in your collegiate career. The 2 were to obviously Miles Martin. You avenged that, and you also avenged to Nate Jackson, who was your first career loss. I know you beat him in the NCAA tournament, Jackson. Do you ever wish that you got a shot at him? Not that you could do anything different, but did you ever kind of in the back of your head wish you're like, listen, I want this guy in the finals?
No, not really. I felt like Nate was always like a really talented guy, a really great wrestler. But I didn't feel like as big of a push or as big of like a rivalry in a sense with him. I think maybe because like something with obviously Indiana not being like great or super competitive with us in wrestling. But I think that the rivalry with Miles and I was really heightened because Ohio State also had such good teams in those years. And, I wrestled Nate. I only actually wrestled Nate twice, which is weird, but especially with us both being in the Big Ten. But for some reason, I wrestled Miles. I don't even know. It had to be like a dozen times. So there was just a lot more of a rivalry. But I was happy. One, I guess the competitive side of me, and the competitive nature in me, when I look at my NCAA career, is that I never really had a guy like that I couldn't beat. Like even though there was guys that beat me, I came back stronger. I avenged those losses, got the last laugh per se, and I never felt like there was a guy out there that was like kind of got the last one on me, or that I felt like could like almost like keep that over me in my NCAA career. And so, I didn't really feel like, I felt like everything was kind of settled at the end of the day. I did everything I needed to do. Were there things that I wish went differently? Yeah. Those 3 losses that I had, I would love to have won those matches and gone undefeated, but that wasn't God's plan for me. And I learned a lot through them. And so, I know that at the end of the day, I gave my best effort, did everything I could do with what I had in that moment, and had a ton of fun. So, looking back at my career, I feel really like, at peace with it.
It's awesome. You just brought up God. I kind of want to talk about your faith right now, if that's all right. I had a few questions there. I know you're a man of God, and you've always made it a point to put Jesus on the platform when that happens. Terrific career at Penn State, and now you're in the MMA. How do you think your faith has been tested, and how do you think you've overcame those other obstacles, the original goals that you had?
For sure. Great question. It's interesting because when you have really big goals and, these things that you want to achieve and that you've dreamed of since you were a little kid, I think that for me at times, like those kind of can become an idol of sorts. And and I can see how people can get lost in that. And I've definitely been, someone who has been lost in that at times. Fortunately, I think just because of the people that I've been able to be around, and, having good role models and good friends and people to just like steer me in the right direction, that I've been able to refocus my attention and kind of continuously attempt to like put God at the center of my life as best as I can. And so, I know like when I look back and I felt these crushing losses and these things that really hurt me as a person and really, were struggles that I went through. I I think that it was God teaching me about who he is and how I can put faith and trust in him rather than myself, and not lean, so heavily on myself and try to do everything on my own. So, I think that was him kind of steering me back onto the path that I was supposed to be on. And that's not just like something that ever really stops. It's continuing, because I'm still a competitive person and I still want to win. I still have goals, but continue to put God at the center, understand that, his plan is perfect. And, whatever happens to me, at the end of the day, it's all for his glory and his benefit. And, I'm just grateful and happy to be an instrument for him. And so now when I look at fighting, I approach it a little bit differently, in that with wrestling, I was like, I'm going to be a 4-time national champion. Like, that's it. And with fighting, it's more so like, I'm just going to be the best fighter I can be. And I just want to see how good I can be, because even when you put a massive, seemingly unattainable goal out there, and maybe you start to like identify with that goal, it's still a limitation, right? Like, you don't know what God has planned for you. And for me, I look at it like, if I just focus on being my best and honoring him, and, giving him the glory, and focusing on gratitude and appreciation for what I've been given, then who knows where I'm going to go. I might go even further past that, even though these things seem unattainable and impossible. Like, there's no limit on what God can do. So that's kind of what I've learned through that process. And I try to, continuously focus on that rather than focusing on my own selfish goals and things that I want to attain. Like, that's kind of, I guess, what I feel like I've learned thus far, amongst many other things. But that's definitely something that's been at the forefront.
Sweet. I appreciate you sharing that with us. Obviously, it's very powerful. Yeah.
George, just like I kind of I don't know, a story. I obviously was around you guys a bunch, and some really cool moments in Penn State wrestling, and some big wins. And kind of like, I get this question, which is kind of a funny question, because way more people are like UFC fans than I am, right? Like, I'm a big Bo Nickal fan, and I'll watch Connor if he's on, right? And so like, it's just like, that's just how it is. But like, there's a lot of people who, like, they know who you are, right? And so they'll ask me, like, what's Bo like? Like, good person? I'm like, an anecdotal story to that is like 2018, I think it was. We had a massive duel against Ohio State. I think we had won 40 something in a row. We were ranked 1, they were ranked 2. Jason, our buddy, was hurt, and we were kind of like the underdog at home, and won like the most unbelievable match ever, right? And it was like, I everybody knows who listens, and Mike and you guys, like, I've been like all different sporting events, great football games, great golf tournaments, great basketball games. Like, that's probably the most exciting sporting event I've ever been to, pound for pound. And I remember we all go to dinner afterwards, and like, we're just also like caught up in the moment, like me as a fan, you guys as athletes and stuff. And like, it's like commotion. We get our food, and Bo's like, hey, let's just pray. Let's pray and like reflect on like what we just got to experience. Right. And, talking about gratitude. And I thought it was just like such a centering moment. And I thought, like, just a testament to, like, even then, like, when we were in college, like the building of your faith. We're all faithful people in here. And so that's such like a cool story for me to kind of like center on, like, that's who, like, you are, right? Like, yeah, we want to win. Like there's nothing more we want to do aside from like our God and family and stuff like that. And so I thought that was just like all kind of like summarized in one point right there. And then the second thing I'd say is like, and I maybe you can attest to this, because maybe you had a direct hand in this, like last year after winning NCAAs, like, I thought the coolest thing about Penn State wrestling, and I texted Coach Kale this, was like the amount of guys that use that win as a platform to talk about Jesus, right? And like, man, it's cool you win, but like you're evangelizing to so many people. And I thought like Greg Kirklevitt had like maybe the coolest thing, where he talked about like what you just said, like, I got to believe in myself. And then it's like, no, I just have to believe in Jesus more. And so I guess my question to you about that is like, have you been able to, like, were you able to disciple some of the younger guys from a faith perspective as they came in? Because clearly, like with AB and some of these guys and Greg, like they're even more vocal now about it than maybe even you guys were when you were doing your thing at Penn State.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would say that, there was definitely times that I felt like God was calling me to pour into those guys and try to help, lead them a little bit. But really for me, it's just like, caring about those guys and loving them. And I think that they're all such amazing young men that at the end of the day really like have made their own individual choices to be men of God and to follow a higher power and believe in something bigger than themselves. I think that it's a tough position being a young 20-something-year-old successful athlete, especially nowadays with NIL and stuff, because there's so much added influence and different things to deal with that I didn't have to deal with. And, I try to be a good example and be there for those guys and, help maybe just like help motivate them and stuff like that. But what I think is really cool is that they've all made that personal choice and that commitment. And not only those guys, but a lot of guys on the team have chosen to commit their life to Christ and be baptized and things like that. And I think that, it's something that I'm really, I just feel like my heart just swells thinking about it because it's so cool and it's so unique in today's day and age. Like when everybody, especially, it's just the culture of, telling people how good you are and showing off and wanting to be the man and feeling like, you need to do certain things to get attention. Whereas these guys, they do the opposite. Guys like Greg and Aaron, are winning national championships, making a ton of money in NIL. And then at the end of the day, they're pointing the attention back to God and back to Jesus. And so, to me, I look at it just as excellent example. Those guys are excellent examples of how to deal with the circumstances that they've been put in. And overall, really proud of them. Really proud of those guys.
Nice. Cool. And then one more question from we have a viewer from Hawks Report 24/7. I think it's Iowa. They want to know, how much did you illegally get an NIL to sign with Penn State when you first?
Dude, oh my gosh, bro.
I get my news from Iowa message boards.
Yeah,
so
right.
I just wanted you to know.
That's actually amazing, bro. I wish I got freaking any amount of money because nowadays
we talked about that number, bro.
These kids are making crazy money.
Yeah,
and,
before we put the cameras on, it was a little different.
a lot of people actually probably don't know this, but when I came into Penn State, my first year, I was only on partial scholarship, so I had to pay like
really.
I had to pay like $25,000 to come to school.
That's
that
wild.
First year. Yeah, and I just wanted to be here. So
it's a good story.
Yeah,
you made
so
yourself believe that?
Yeah, no, overall, if you look at it, I was probably net negative,
Wow.
But yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. As I said, the NIL and stuff like that, would it be nice to, have a couple $1,000,000 in my bank account as I was leaving college? Yeah, but that also just completely changes the trajectory of your whole life. And, that it could have easily influenced me in a really negative way while I was in school. And so, now I feel grateful now that I've been able to kind of grow up and mature. And Garrett knows this, like that NIL money was coming in, we would have been at the Harrisburg Casino a heck of a lot. Like
I was just thinking, what would be put on black at Hollywood?
It wouldn't have been.
Oh god,
it wouldn't have been what was put on black when we went in school. It would have been probably
that was still a lot,
5-10 times as much.
Oh
so,
my gosh, bro.
Yeah, I'm glad that I didn't have to deal with any of that. It was just, it made the sport very pure, and now I look at money very differently too. I think I feel like I had to really earn where I'm at in my career, and obviously now with being in the UFC, there's a lot more financial opportunities and stuff, and I feel really ready to handle those in a mature way versus, had I been 2021 with that kind of money, I don't know what would have happened. Who knows? It's been crazy.
Oh my goodness.
What's
wild.
What's it like dealing with all these endorsements being thrown at you? Like, where do you pick and choose of where you want to represent, who you want to wear, what you want to be around?
Right. For me, it just is that people have to align with my values, and I've grown a lot in this space because when it first started happening, it was to me like I felt like I had to say yes to every opportunity. It was like, wow, this is a lot of money. Yeah. Wow, this is a lot of money. Yeah. Like, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. And, so there was a lot of growth that happened in those first few years post college with endorsements and things like that. And growth in my mindset and how I handle things, but also growth in just like learning the game and learning the way that things work. And so I feel like now I just have a very, particular and specific type of deal that I like to use. Like, I don't really promote or try to sell anything that I'm not actually using myself, that I don't believe in. And fortunately, I have the luxury that I don't have to say yes to every opportunity and every deal. I can kind of sift through and see what makes the most sense for me. And it depends, it's really the Wild West out there because there's so many different ways to go about it, so many different things that come into play. And of course, for me, like my career and providing for my family are very important. But I also, just want to align myself with brands and people who represent the same things that I represent and believe in the same things that I believe in. And I've been able to like kind of initially, my mindset was a little different, but now I'm more patient. I would say the biggest difference that I feel now versus when I first started is patience. And also just like I'm very entrepreneurial, so I enjoy business. I enjoy, like, me and Garrett have had discussions on business and stuff like that, and it's very fun for me. But I've kind of come to the consensus that the main thing I have to focus on is being the best fighter I can be, because all those other opportunities will come in time. And so for me, the main thing I focus on is just train, be prepared, get ready to go fight. And when I keep winning these fights and when I reach my goals, then everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah, it'll all fall into place. I don't want you to leave anyone out here, because I know a lot of companies, a lot of advertisers back you. What are your top 3 coolest something that has attached your name to it? You've attached your name that you represent. Who do you think are the 3 that?
Yeah,
maybe it's bow and arrows, maybe it's betting companies. Who are the 3 stakes?
You should start a company called Bow and Arrows and sell bow and arrow. Have you thought of
that was my idea.
I love it. Mike gets a royalty on it now. No, I would say, the companies that I'm most excited about, that I really love and that I really believe in. First is a recovery lotion business that I started. It's called 2717 Recovery. Basically, it's a lotion that has a bunch of amazing natural ingredients in it, a lot of essential oils, and then the active ingredients are copper peptides and terpenes. So what it does is it has a regenerative effect to certain types of injuries. So bumps, bruises, things of that nature. It can kind of speed up the healing process. And I love it because I got to be part of the product development from the very, very beginning. The first time I got the product, it was in like a little syringe with no needle, and like all the ingredients were almost like separated. So it was literally nothing. It was just like an idea and this little syringe full of lotion that like wild. Yeah. And so getting to develop it from there has been really cool. Kind of starting from the ground up. And also the product just helps me a lot. Like, I initially used it. I torn my MCL like 80% in my left knee. And so I used it to help kind of help me get rehabbed through that injury. And then I gave it to some of my buddies and had them try it out. They loved it. And now we're in a point where we're really like expanding and growing the business, and it's cool to see. But that was like 4 years of hard work, and that was a lot of effort. So that's something that I really I love and I enjoy spending time on. I would say in addition to that, I'm partnering an apparel company, Scrap Life. So, I've always like loved, wrestling shoes and gear and stuff like that. And now my main role with Scrap Life is helping to, do product development, designing shoes, and, doing some designing in our clothing and stuff like that. So that's fun for me. I enjoy that process. I enjoy being able to be creative in that, and picking new colorways for shoes and stuff like that is very fun. And it's kind of like I said, since I was a kid, I at one point had a collection of like 50 plus pairs of wrestling shoes. So I love that, and it's been enjoyable. And then I'd say the last one that I'm really, really excited about is a hunting outfitter that I'm partnering. So it's called 7T Outfitters, and my uncle and I partnered up on it. So we have a few thousand acres of land leased in northwestern Colorado, and we guide hunts out there, and we predominantly focus on upland bird hunts, so pheasants and chukars and quail, and it's just like literally the coolest thing in the world. It's something I could see myself doing full time once I'm done fighting. It's a lot like golf. So big game hunting, I equate it to like fighting, because you train all year, and then you get like this one opportunity where it's like 15 minutes, you got to go. But with bird hunting, it's like you're walking through a field, maybe your dog flushes a bird, and you shoot. Like if you hit it, great. It's like you made a great golf shot. And if you missed, it's like on to the next. Like you got to refocus and get on to the next. But it's a little more leisurely, and it's a good time. But basically we have like a boutique experience that allows people to come hunt very like natural, rugged grasslands adjacent to the Colorado River, which is very unique for bird hunting. And then we provide like full service, basically like 5-star chef quality like food. And we're working on building some lodges and accommodations for people to be able to stay and
I love
do
that.
longer trips. But yeah, it's really fun. That's definitely one I'm really
Yeah.
I would say I'm the one I'm most passionate about for sure.
Sweet. All right, let's get into the MMA talk here. So I heard you on Rogan talking about how when you were growing up, your family, I think you name dropped Buffalo Wild Wings there. They must have sent you a free case of wings or wing sauces, but you used to go there, watch the fights. Who were the guys that were growing up that drew you to the sport? Because I know I've told Garrett this before. Garrett and I played basketball together in high school. My entire family played basketball, and I really didn't know anything about you or Jason. And I remember the first time I met you guys, we played like touch football over Thanksgiving. And I was like, Garrett, who are these kids? And he's like, oh, they're wrestlers. And he's like, they're really good. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. But what
You're
made
from
me
Bald
is,
Eagle, Mikey. How do you not know about wrestling? What is wrong with you?
I wrestled in second grade, went 0-2 and quit. I don't want to talk about it. I wasn't tough enough to wrestle. But when I didn't know anything about wrestling, and I would go to the matches with Garrett, and you wrestled, I'd be like, oh, dude, I was like, this kid's so ferocious. Like, he's aggressive. I love his style. He wrestles like a linebacker. And then I'd see Jason. And Jason was so meticulous and thought everything out. And so he was just like a mastermind out there from the mental side. I was like, who are the guys in UFC that you watched that you were like, this is sweet. This is what's making me. I know at that age you have no aspirations to do that, or maybe you did.
I didn't really have aspirations. I would say that in the back of my mind, it was something that I was like, maybe I could do that someday, but it was so far away that it didn't seem realistic. But I did love the sport, like from when I very first watched it. And I would say some of the guys that I really liked, of course, I like the wrestlers, guys like Matt Hughes, Randy Couture, Tito Ortiz, like these guys I identified with because I was like, oh, they wrestled, like that's awesome. But a guy that I really liked as I got older, this was maybe like more towards high school and stuff, that I was like, this guy's crazy, was Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Just because he's a karate guy, and so he was doing like these crazy side kicks and spinning heel kicks and all these things that I was just like, what the hell is even that? Like, I don't even know what that is. Like, it was so far from what I was good at that I just but it was also so incredible and effective that I just had to respect it. And so he was a guy that I loved watching. But honestly, I loved watching everyone. Anybody that was like competing at a high level, I enjoyed watching. I'm definitely, when I look at sports like a student, I take a very like studious approach. So to me, anybody that's doing things really well, I appreciate.
Sweet. And then one more question that you kind of told this story on Joe Rogan, but I needed a follow-up because he didn't ask. I'm being the real journalist here. You told the story of when you were training with Coach Cal and
Yes.
the terrors of the garage about that. And I'm familiar with him and what he does, but you said that he invited you out, and I assume you mentioned the beach. I assume you weren't going to have a picnic. I'm sure it was some sort of workout there. And then he spun it and said, actually, we're gonna work out here with these heavy medicine balls in the garage. What's that guy like? Can you just break it down for us?
Yeah. So Sam Calavita, coach, aka Coach Cal, he is one of a kind. I've never met anybody like him. First off, the guy's a legitimate genius. I would say one of, if not the smartest people that I've ever met in my life. Just an absolute whiz when it comes to anything science or math related. So, I'm utilizing him for all my nutrition, all my recovery, all my strength conditioning. You have that part of him, the very intellectual, intelligent side, but you also have this side of Coach Cal where he's competed in, I don't know, like dozens of Ironman triathlons, and he's just an absolute savage animal when it comes to anything, strength conditioning related. And the guy's, he's getting older, like he's up there in age, but he's in absolute amazing shape. And so you just have to respect him because he has the intellectual side, but he's also doing the work. He's also a guy that's like, if he's asking you to do something, it's not something that he's not willing to do himself, because he's out there in a single day running a marathon, swimming, I think it's like 4 miles, and then biking 120 miles. It's like unbelievable type of stuff that he's able to do. And so he's just a guy that just garners that respect. And, when you're in there working out with him, it's like, it's almost like he's hypnotizing you in a weird way, because you're just pushing yourself so hard, harder than like any other workout possible. And he just gets you to do more than, you think is humanly possible. And so I just have a lot of love for Coach Cal. Like at this point, with the amount of time that I've spent with him, talking with him out in California, all different types of things. He's a guy that is family to me, and he has his wife and all of his kids they're all family to me as well. And so, yeah, just a really unbelievable person, and somebody that I respect to the utmost. But he can be the worst at times as well, because he just makes me suffer so much.
It's awesome. No, I was really fascinated by him just because I've heard of him, and then that was brought up, and I was like, oh, I got to look into this guy. And then I was looking at it, and so I went down a wormhole, and I was like, all right, I got to ask Bo this. But that's awesome. Also, another thing that I would like a royalty of the patent, instead of calling it your blueprint to success, I'm going to call it the Bo print, because I think what's happening is you're utilizing different aspects of mixed martial arts, and you're incorporating the best of the best, like your striking coach Moose, this guy, you're bringing it all together. You talk to me, Garrett, kind of like what's that like when you were assembling your guys to become the best possible Bo in the octagon?
No, I love that. I love the pun. That's good stuff.
We're big fun guys.
Yeah,
that's Mikey's level of humor.
It's fun. It's fun for me. I feel like really blessed to have been around some amazing people, and it's almost like assembling the Avengers of sorts. It's like, I'm really, I've been world class and been the best in the world at one sport. I'm looking to do that in another sport, and so you kind of learn what the process is like, to get there from start to finish. Of course, I started at 5 years old and had 20 plus years in wrestling. And now in MMA, I don't have that much time, but what I do have is experience, and I have relationships, and I know people that are the top of the top in their profession at what they do. And so, that's just who I gravitate towards, and who I've been fortunate to have built relationships with and surround myself with. I think they respect me because they know how serious I am about what I do and how much I love it. Like, I have a genuine, real love and appreciation for my sport, and I wouldn't do it otherwise. But I think that, for me, it's really fun to kind of pick the different experts to build the team that I'm surrounding myself with, and I just believe that you put yourself in the right environment, that you're a product of that. And it was the same thing at Penn State, and I really believe in that as like a core principle for me finding success. It's finding the right people to be around, and the people that have the best information. And then I just try to, again, be a student and soak up every little thing that I can and apply all the information that they're giving me to what I'm doing. And if I can someday do the same thing and be able to give back to them, or be able to give back to other people that are coming up behind me, then I would love to do that as well. But right now it's definitely more so in a building phase, a phase where I'm trying to just continuously improve and grow and develop as a fighter, and also just as a person. And really, last thing I'll say about that is the people that I'm around, they seem special because they're the best in the world at what they do, but they're really just amazing people. And for me, that is absolutely more important, because if they didn't have high character, and they weren't people that were grounded and who prioritized faith and family, then those aren't people that I would want to be around, even if they were at the top of their field. But fortunately for me, it's been the best of both worlds, where they're the top of their industry, but they're also just like grounded, amazing, faithful people.
That's awesome. It's the same thing at Penn State, like we talked about there with your teammates. Lucky that they're not only the best of the world, but they're world-class people. So your first pro fight, Icon FC3, 33 seconds. Right after you won there, what was your immediate thought? Like, what was going through your head there?
I was just like, dang, I just knocked this dude out cold. That was insane. I was like, yo, what? That was literally crazy. That was literally crazy. Like, it feels good to pin somebody. That's like a great feeling, obviously, in wrestling. For me, that was always the goal, is to get a pin no matter who I was wrestling. But knocking somebody stiff unconscious was like 10 times better than that. It's unreal. I wish like I could explain it to people. It was funny. It's actually, not to get into a tangent or another story, but I was golfing in Bedminster with President Trump, and it was, I can't remember what hole it was or anything like that, but he hit like an amazing tee shot. It was like 300 yards straight down the center, like, just gonna have a nice chip onto the green. And he's like, man, there's nothing like that. That's the best feeling in the world, hit an amazing golf shot. And I was like, that's pretty good, but knocking somebody unconscious, I definitely think is much better than that.
What did he
have to say to that?
It feels good to hit like a great golf shot. It's like, wow, I'm the man. But when you just freaking smoke some dude and they're laying there stiff, it's like, you can't beat it. That's, to me, been the best feeling I've had.
What I want to know what Trump said to that when you told him that.
He was just kind of shrugged it off. He was just kind of
So then, in the Contender Series there, you win by submission. Were you asking right away, like, where's my contract? Let's get this rolling. What's up?
Yeah, of course. I felt like I was ready to go, but obviously it didn't go that way. And I feel like, having a second fight on Contender Series after they didn't give me the contract the first time, it was great for me, just because, I got to get another fight under my belt. And, my career, it was just like, after I knocked that guy out, it was just taking this crazy exponential path that was so fast. And so getting another fight was really valuable for me. And again, back to like my faith, staying grounded in that, feeling like whatever God's plan is for me, I'm ready for it. That was just, going back to that and going back to my foundation and feeling like, what's going to come, it'll come in time, and I'll be prepared for it when it does.
What was your patience like then? Because I know you said it was tested. Do you think it helped you who you are, the fighter now, just getting through that, waiting for your time?
100%. And at the end of the day, it's like, it might seem like it's taken longer than it should, but it goes so fast. It goes really quickly. And I think that with fighting, what I tell people now who are maybe like going to go through what I went through, or who are, on that path. It's like, just be patient, just take your time, get your experience. Fighting is, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You can have good moments in the short term, but in the long term, it's like you want to develop a base and develop a foundation of skills that are going to help you be successful. And for me, I feel like I'm kind of on this, like I said, this crazy trajectory and path that's really faster than, anyone. And so I'm really trying to be cognizant of that. And I just have to double down on the amount of time that I put into my sport and the amount of effort that I put in and how detail oriented I am. So, it's not a bad, it's not, people might think, I want things to happen. I need them to happen right now. But the more you develop, the more you prepare, the more you stay locked in, the better things are going to work out for you. And I think bigger and better things are going to come, that you can't even really expect.
Yeah, and then obviously you burst on the UFC stage, UFC 285, submit Pickett right there. And then you go and you knock out Woodburn. And it's funny because I was watching the Woodburn fight with my friend, 38 seconds. And I was like, my boy's fighting, gotta watch him. And we played it, and he walked out of the room and came in, and your hand was being held. And he was like, "Is it over?" And I was like, "Dude, you missed it." I was like, "That's the Bo Nickal experience." I was like, I'm paying
like $3 a second for some of these cards. It's unbelievable.
I was gonna ask.
Like now we're set. Now I know the places to go to not have to do that. But like, all right, fine, I'll pull the trigger, $80, whatever. Like it's good. I'm gonna get something. It's like boom. $3 a second. The rate they're making off of me is unbelievable.
Oh man, yeah. I feel like that's the crazy part about fighting is you can't predict the way it's going to go. For me, if people ask me, how I think a fight's going to go, I just tell them like, you know what, like I'm probably going to finish this guy, but I don't know. Like, if you were to ask me before the Woodburn fight, what would happen? I'd probably say I'm going to take this dude down and choke him out, but then, I end up knocking him out in 30 seconds. And it's just it's the most volatile, unpredictable, crazy sport there is. You don't see that anywhere else. And it's so unique in so many ways. And it's insane. Like when I take a step back and I'm thinking about what I'm actually doing, I'm like, you're nuts. Like, this is crazy. I'm literally in my underwear in front of millions of people fighting a dude like to the death until the ref pulls me off. But, I just love it. Crazy. I don't know. It's just so much fun, and it's the biggest adrenaline rush. And for me, I know it's not going to be a forever thing. I got a certain amount of time where I'm going to be able to compete like this. So I just focus on making the most of it and doing the best I can with every opportunity I get.
And the last time the world saw you in your underwear in front of a million people, second round win over Brundage, and you weren't too happy about that. I know in your presser after you referenced the 300K KO bonus that you missed out on. But Bo, you talked about how you need to learn to not get wild and brawling and how that was a learning experience. From that last fight to today, how have you worked on that? And are we going to see that in November?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And I think that, in the immediate moment after that fight, I was a little disappointed with my performance. I wanted to do better. I wanted to do something spectacular. And of course, I was happy I still got the win and I still finished them and dominated them. Didn't even get hit really. And so, I think there was a lot of good that came from that and a lot of learning. And yeah, for me, the part of the development process is figuring out how to be poised and patient and collected inside the octagon. And I think that, getting that time and experience in the cage was so valuable. I think that if you look at that fight, you could probably add up all my fight time prior to that and double it, and it would be equal to that single fight. So, I was able to like triple my amount of fight time in one fight, which is super a super big positive for me. And now, being further removed from it, I look at it as an amazing experience. And so, yeah, definitely I've been, putting a lot of time in the gym, putting a lot of effort in, figuring out how to stay poised in there and stay calm, stay collected, keep my head and keep to the game plan. And, definitely November 16th is going to be the best performance I've ever had to date. And I feel really, really pumped up for this. This is, I would say, the hardest that I've trained in a long time prepping for this fight, which definitely says something because I'm always training hard, but this is extra special for me.
Yeah, you're going to face an experienced guy, 36-year-old Paul Craig. As we mentioned earlier, Madison Square Garden, guys, Saturday, November 16th, see Bo in action. Bo, he's kind of a tricky guy. He's described as a high-risk, high-reward kind of guy. In studying his film, what pops out the most to you? What are you noticing?
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. He's a guy that he has some tricky stuff. He has different offense, obviously off his back with submissions and stuff like that. That's very unorthodox. And he's somebody that you have to prepare for in a specific way. And so I feel like, I'm doing that. I'm bringing in a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experts to work with me. The main guy I'm working with is from Australia. His name is Isaac Michel. And he's, a black belt. He's competed at the absolute highest level of the sport. And so, getting his insight and info into some of these positions has been a massive help. And I think that for me, it's just about going out there, continuing to build my reputation and dominate and show the MMA community who I am and what I'm about. And really more than that, just continuing to prove to myself that I can do what I'm setting out to do. And this is a step in the right direction. Guy that's more experienced, a guy that brings a kind of a different style that, I'm going to have to problem solve and figure things out while I'm in the octagon. So, for me overall, the challenge is one that I'm up for and I'm really, really excited about. And as I said, this has been the hardest training camp that I've put in my MMA career, and definitely some of the hardest training sessions that I've had in my whole life. So I'm really, really pumped about it. And I'm going to go, make all that work worthwhile on November 16th.
So on the night of November 15th, after you apply the 2717 cream to you and you're sitting wherever you're staying, you wake up the next day. Can you walk us through what your agenda looks like from the moment you wake up to when you're walking into the octagon?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Great question, Mikey. You are big journaling insight. I'm impressed with you. Good job.
You're killing it.
Appreciate it, boys.
This is great. Sorry, I'm just plugging my phone in real quick.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm very meticulous and very particular about how I get ready, on fight day. And the most important thing for me is just making sure that I feel good and making sure that I have everything that I need to just go perform. And what that looks like is getting up, getting a solid breakfast in, nothing too crazy, but maybe like 4 or 5 eggs, some potatoes, maybe a little bit of chicken sausage, something like that, and just kind of getting a good breakfast in, getting a bunch of electrolytes, so making sure I'm hydrated. And then most important thing for me is just like hanging out with my boys. So I bring all my teammates and buddies, try to get them all out there for the fight. And for me, some people like to isolate themselves and sit in a hotel alone or whatever, but I've always found that I do better when I'm more relaxed. And so I just want to be around my friends and hang out, and might play a couple board games or whatever. And then usually by late afternoon, I'm hitting Chipotle. So getting a little rice, a little chicken,
of course,
nothing crazy,
naturally.
but yeah, something that I'm used to eating. And so I'll get a little Chipotle in, and then from there, just roll over to the arena, smash some dude up real quick, collect my check, and bounce out of there. So that's kind of the game plan.
Are you a music guy before you fight? Or you listen to meditate? What do you do?
Not really. I just get warmed up, do my thing. It's nothing new to me. I've been doing this type of stuff since I was 5, 6 years old, and so I'm ready to go. I think that for me, I feel most comfortable and at home when the pressure's on, and it's what I'm meant to do. I feel like it's a choice, and I've been given a gift, and so there's a lot of intention in that, and it's just a very comfortable and fun environment for me. And I just try to keep it loose, keep it light. I'm not a big music guy or anything, but just talking, joking around and hanging out with the buddies, same as I would on any other day. Just another day, and another opportunity for me to have some fun.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited for you. We're excited for you. This is a football podcast, so we're going to talk some football now. Bo's a big football guy. Garrett, Bo, and I are in a college pick'em, even though I forgot to do it the first week, so I'm in last place. But I'm above 500. That's all that matters.
There you go.
Bo, you went to high school with a pretty good quarterback who plays the NFL, and I saw Sunday after he had just an absurd touchdown. He was pointing at midfield, the end zone. Allen, Texas, are they just the producer of talent or what? Kyler Murray, Bo Nickal,
Yeah.
John David Booty's kid plays
John
there now.
David Booty.
General Booty, he's at LA Lafayette. I didn't realize he went there. Rams wideout, Jalen Guyton's there. We're from there.
Yep.
Talk about your high school. What was that like being in high school? Because he's a couple years younger than you, correct?
Correct. Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'll start at the beginning. So, I moved to Allen right before high school. So right at the end of 8th grade towards my freshman year. And you learn real quick like what actual like big time sports and athletics are about. Like it's insane. It's another level. Like I remember I come in, I was a good football player, right? Like growing up, like I played every position, it was like return punts, return kicks, defense, offense, everything. Like I was scoring touchdowns, intercept, like everything. And I was like thinking I'm pretty good, but I played in New Mexico and it was like, how good is New Mexico at football? Like there's some good guys, but overall it's like, not really known for that. But like, so I was kind of thinking, I was like, I'm pretty good. And I get to Allen, Texas. I go to freshman football tryouts and it was like nothing I'd ever seen before. There was like 200 kids there, all in the same grade, like trying out for one team. And I go up to a coach and I'm kind of like I'm introducing myself and all of that. And he's asking me questions. He's like, and I'm just saying, yeah. He's asking me like yes or no questions. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, Bo, do you ever say yes? And I was like, yes, sometimes. and then he was like, and it was just like so serious off the bat. And I was like, damn, this is crazy. And so, it was just immediately like, wow, this is the real deal. This is not a joke. And so, my high school football experience, it wasn't like, I wasn't like a standout player or anything like that, but I did enjoy it. I did have fun. And, it was crazy. My high school football team, I never got to play in the stadium because I stopped playing as a junior, but my junior year, we built a 20,000 seat stadium. It was a $60 million project, and that sold out every single game, while I was there. And we ended up, I want to say 2 or 3 years in a row being the number one team in the country. And it was just like straight up pandemonium every Friday night for our school. People were scalping tickets in the parking lot for a high school football game, and they were on ESPN and competing in the state finals in Cowboy Stadium in front of 50,000-60,000 people. Playing teams like South Lake Carroll, Euless Trinity, and it's like Dallas Skyline. It's like it's just another level. Like the DFW area is just full of athletes, full of insane talent, and Allen is a place that's obviously put out a lot of amazing guys. Kyler, I think, being the best athlete that's come out of there, and he's a guy that I'm not in touch with him like a ton, but I still talk to him here and there, and obviously rooting for him, and he's sent a lot of love and support my way during my fights and stuff like that. So it's cool to see guys doing well who you've seen at that young age. And you could always tell with Kyler, it was like he came in and it was just like, yo, who is this guy? Like, this is unreal, just runner. He did that same type of stuff, as a 15-year-old kid that he's doing now, but it was just like even crazier because he was just like, there was no team that could stop us. We were scoring 60 points a game, every game, and he would score 8 touchdowns, like, throw for 5 and freaking run for 3. It was just like, it was unreal. And we had other guys, like you mentioned, Jalen Guyton, and there were so many great athletes that were part of those teams. But yeah, cool. Definitely cool for me to be around. You just see a different type of athlete down there.
So
Dude,
go ahead, Garrett.
down here, like coaching a little high school football this year, which has been a lot of fun and a cool experience. I just like ask the coaches all the time because they're so experienced and they've been all over the place and they just like know everything. And one of our our quarterbacks coach is like from Dallas area and stuff. And I'm like, who's the best guy that you've seen? Like, and all of them are like Kyler, like without even like hesitation. Like what made it? It's just like he'd drop back 3 steps. He'd either throw it 100 yards or if it wasn't there, he'd roll out and run for 70. And it was just like every time. And I'm like, there isn't anybody. Kyler. And I'm like, all right. And they all they say it so quick.
He was so good, man. It was crazy, bro. Like I want to say in high school, he won like 40 games in a row. And it was like that in Texas, bro. It's like unreal. Like the teams are so good. Like there's so many amazing teams and amazing athletes. And he stood out like in I think he was Gatorade Player of the Year, all that jazz, but like to see it was unreal. Like to see it live, it didn't seem real. It was like, what's going on? And like you said, every time 3 steps, drop back, he'd either throw it a mile and hit the guy perfectly in the hands, or he'd roll out and just like nobody could catch him, nobody could touch him. It was like when you create a video game player and you just make him 99 overall and everything. And it's just like, that's what it was like, man. It was nuts.
Jeez.
I've seen you rolling around the wrestling mat with Micah a few times, and he's talking as Micah does. I got a theoretical question for you because you're a great all around athlete and a terrific football player, and I know Coach Franklin made note that you could have played linebacker while you were there, and Micah allegedly could have wrestled, but I think he would have had to beat out some pretty good talent there. But my question for you, Bo. If you were in an open field, do you think you have a better shot of tackling Kyler Murray or being a running back and either running over Micah or juking him out?
Bro, honestly, man, I'm not even going to play. Like, most people would probably like just make up some BS, but dude, I'm not doing either of those. Like 0 chance, dude, for either of those.
How is it? Is there a better chance you outrun him or Micah takes you down?
Oh, Micah would never take me down. No. Like in a wrestling match? No way.
Yeah.
I think I would have a better chance of juking him out than him taking me down. But
wow.
I don't think
big words.
There's no chance that I would say there's very, very he would have to just trip over a shoelace or something like that. I was it was cool one time. I think Micah was it was either right after he, declared for the draft or maybe like while he was still in school, we did a sprint workout together over at State High, and I like got cleats and stuff just to do it, and it was so fun, bro. But that dude's a freak, man. Like it's amazing how big he is, how fast and agile he is. It's like it's really, really unbelievable. And if he had wrestled, I know he wrestled as a kid and was middle school PJW state champ and all that. But if he would have continued with it, he would have definitely been like one of the best, to do it. He's just that type of guy as well. Same as Kyler. Like Kyler's just a freak athlete, could do whatever he wanted. He was, I think, he got drafted like top 10 by the A's when he was in high school or college, like for baseball. And so it's like these type of guys can do whatever they want, and it's cool to even just like be around them and see how they work.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Appreciate that little insight. I was just curious. I was wondering because I mean, if I was running,
that's tough, bro.
I mean, like I'm not catching Kyler, and I'm not juking out Mike. I'd probably run and just go out of bounds and get the first down. I'm not doing that. But
I would slide.
Yeah, exactly. But I won't hold you much longer here, Bo. Just Penn State football. That's primarily what Garrett and I do. I'm not sure how closely you follow those guys. But do you have a prediction for their game Saturday as they travel to kind of where you are out on the West Coast there to play USC?
Yeah, man. It's been an interesting year because I feel like, we've done what we needed to do in every game. And but people, the fan base has been like a little disappointed. It's like, oh, well, we're only beating these teams 27-10. And it's like, but we're winning football games, I think, at the end of the day. And that's what's important. And I feel like the team is starting to maybe like get a little momentum and believe in themselves some. And so, which is what has to happen. So much of college football is just believing in yourself, your teammates, and getting a little momentum and feeling like you can do it. I think like if you don't have that belief, and that's anything, right? Like that's not just football, but if you don't have that belief, that I don't think you're not going to accomplish much. But I feel like the team's starting to do that. I think the teams that we have beaten, we're supposed to beat them, and no, this game with USC is going to be a big opportunity, I think, for the guys to go show what they're about, and I think they're gonna meet that challenge head on. I think we're gonna go in there. Are we gonna blow USC out by 40 points? I would like to say yes, but I don't think that we will. But I think we can win that game handily. And I think if we just continue to like win games handily the way that we're doing, that who knows what's going to happen. We have a big game this weekend. We have a big game November 2nd against Ohio State. That's going to be a home game, going to be a whiteout. And I think that people are maybe underestimating us because it doesn't, we're not putting up 50, 60 points a game and doing this crazy stuff. But at the end of the day, we're winning football games, and that's what you got to do. And so, I think that we're going to go out there, we're going to control the clock and beat USC. Like I said, is it going to be a blowout? Probably not, but we're going to beat a good team. And on to the next, like Coach Franklin says, on to the next every week with his tweets and stuff. So it's
Love it.
That's kind of the way I see it going down. At least I'm not an expert, but that's my prediction.
Is that who you're going to pick? Now, are you going to pick Penn State in the pick'em, or like that's where you really? That's where we truly believe what we.
That's my number 10, bro. That's my 10.
All right, I love it.
That was my 10
go.
as well.
Yeah, if Mikey picks.
Now you guys are going to steal my pick, man. What the heck?
Mine was that before.
Listen, we're in a group effort right now. We got a bad man leading that division right now, leading that league.
Dude.
We cannot have him.
I know. We got to get him there.
Yeah.
It's a long season, so that's
It's
what
a long
I'm
season.
excited about. Yeah.
Who's in
It only
first
takes a
right
couple
now?
weeks. Yeah.
Old Nolf pack, old Jason Nolf, another wrestler.
Steelers. Dallas beat the Steelers, so I'll text him and make fun of him for that. So
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Different days. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Bo, thank you very much, man. I really do appreciate you taking the time, and we'll be rooting for you November 16th, man. And best of luck with the rest of camp.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. It was fun chatting.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, bro. Good to see you.
Yep.
See you, Val. Take care, man.
See ya.